What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of SEC Talk with your hosts, Holden and Cody. Unfortunately, Cody is going to be out this evening. He is a little under the weather, so you guys say a prayer for him. Hopefully he can get back up and in shape and back to normal in no time. But nonetheless, we're going to roll on this evening and bring you some content nonetheless. Again, hope he can get over the little bug that he's got. It's not coronavirus last I checked. Seems like just some sinus issues. So, again, you guys just prayers out to him. Hopefully he can come back quick and easy. We've actually got a pretty good weekend of games coming up for us this weekend, unlike last weekend where a lot got canceled. Around some of the news, starting it off is Ole Miss and Texas A&M. That is the only SEC game thus far, and this is as of Thursday evening, that has been postponed. So that one will be either at the end of the season if it doesn't end up being canceled completely. So that's a little bit of news. Some of the other news that we're not really going to dive in too deep right now. We might dive into it a little bit more Sunday. Is all that's going on at LSU. There's a lot of stuff that's starting to come out about some allegations going on there within the program. Again, we're not going to dive into that this evening. I'm going to save that for another day. Maybe Sunday. Maybe this time next week. Well, it won't be this time next week because that's going to be Thanksgiving. We may take Thanksgiving off. We'll see. We're gonna see how that times out. If we don't, then we'll probably do it maybe like Wednesday night. We'll see. It may be a day earlier than what you normally get it, so everybody can enjoy time with their families. I know Cody will be enjoying time with his family if he's not at work. And then the other side of that is I will be leaving either Thursday, Friday, or Saturday to go visit family. So we'll probably do that a day earlier next week. Nonetheless, this week it feels like I hadn't talked to you guys in a long time when it's only been a couple of days. It's just been a long week. I don't know if that's just kind of being excited for Thanksgiving coming or what exactly the deal is. But nonetheless, we're going to jump right through it. I'm going to put the schedule up. I've done the schedule a little bit differently this time for you guys. The only thing that I fear in it is I'm not sure if you guys are going to be able to see it and really read it. And unfortunately, me looking at it on the screen here, I'm just not 100% sure. When I look at it in another screen mode, I can read it. It's pretty tight on some of the kind of like the records and stuff like that, and the names of the stadium. For the most part, I think you can read it. I may not keep it this way. This is off of the SEC football app that I use, which I really enjoy. The guy who created it, he was also nice enough to put our podcast on there in the audio section. So as soon as you click it, boom, we're still right there in the center, which is awesome. You guys go check that out for him. But anyways, hopefully you guys can read it. I'm going to run through a few of these games. You can see the top 25 on the other side of your screen there. Did get the picks in from Cody before started this thing up, so we will have picks. I have not yet received anything from Mad Dog on his picks, so it could be a situation like last week. I may get them afterwards, which we'll post to our socials. Again, follow us on Twitter and Facebook at SEC Talk 20. And obviously the YouTube channel. If you guys are watching, if you guys are listening, just click the link at the bottom of the description in the podcast. And that's our link tree, which will send you to our Facebook page, our Twitter page, YouTube channel, all that. Anything that we have up, it's going to send you to it. And then at the very, very bottom of that description, underneath that link that we leave there to go to anything, is the support link. If you guys feel inclined to support us, go ahead and click that, and it'll give you a few options there to support. Would appreciate that one way or the other, whatever you guys decide. Following that up, that's just about going to wrap it up. Should be fairly quick and easy. I think one other piece of news that I'd seen earlier was one of Georgia's previous players, in Jake Scott, who also played for the Miami Dolphins, which was he was a Hall of Famer in college and was also an MVP in the Super Bowl. He died at the age of 75. He was an All-American in 1968 as a D-back and a punt returner. So he was also a key player in the Dolphins' unbeaten 1972 team, so rest in peace to him. Prayers out to him and his family. Obviously, any time that a loved one passes, you want to pass that along. Any condolences that there are. So, nonetheless, that for the most part is the news that I have for you guys. Could have put that up there on the screen for us, but anyways, we're gonna jump right into it. Let's start it off with that noon slate where you get Florida and Vanderbilt kicking things off. Florida, I'm looking to keep this one kind of rolling here. They do come in as a 31.5 point favorite again as of Thursday. Obviously, these numbers when they first come out change sometimes drastically, sometimes not very much. Nonetheless, I think the over/under on this one, wow, is 68. So that was a pretty good number there for Florida and Vandy. They expect a lot of points to be put up. Most of those, obviously, by Florida. I think they give it that high number just because Vandy was able to put up some last week. But Florida's also been known to put up 60 points alone, so could very well happen against Vandy. Florida coming into it 5-1, Vandy 0-6. Florida is absolutely rolling as they near the end of the season here, at least in the regular season. Kyle Trask looks to be leading the Heisman talk, and again, like we said last week, if you could end it right now, I'm fairly certain he would be the one to get it. No knock on Mac Jones. Mac Jones, unfortunately, has had to have a couple of weeks off because of coronavirus-related issues, not in the program there in Tuscaloosa at Alabama, so much as the teams that they've been playing. But anyways, they'll be back on the field this week playing Kentucky, which we'll get to in a minute. Florida has, again, like I said, they've just been rolling. Vanderbilt on the other side with Derek Mason. I know that Will Muschamp obviously got fired last week there at South Carolina. How Derek Mason, after 6 years at Vanderbilt, still has a job, I don't know. Other than maybe it's just something as simple as we're not looking to be a powerhouse program. We're just looking to be a good academic school and come out here and enjoy it. But I mean, if your football team enjoys going out and going 0-6 and 1-9 in a regular, well, I guess it'd be a 12-game slate, so maybe 1-11. I don't know, 2-10. I couldn't imagine a whole lot of fun, regardless, when that comes down to it. They're wanting to play like that. So Vanderbilt has nothing to prove for the rest of this year, and I don't really expect them to put up much of a fight. Let's see, looking at the round of their schedule, Florida, Tennessee, and Georgia. Yikes, I see 3 losses right there. I don't see Vanderbilt getting a win, which preseason me nor Cody had Vanderbilt winning any games this year. And Cody had Arkansas 0-10. I had them 1-9. But look at here, Arkansas has made a name for themselves, and that's the next game we're going to get into is LSU and Arkansas. That one also at that noon kickoff. That was going to be on the SEC Network. That Florida Vanderbilt game will be on ESPN. LSU comes in as a 2.5 point favorite here on Thursday. I think when the line first opened, I think Arkansas was actually a favorite by like 1.5 points. That may have been Sunday when we were talking when we first pulled this up. I'm really surprised here. I don't think that LSU is going to be able to. I don't know. You're coming in with a true freshman. Miles Brennan's not in, so you're coming in with the true freshman and T.J. Finley, which he's shown some sparks for sure. You got Felipe Franks there, obviously a veteran quarterback for Arkansas. But I think after the loss last weekend to Florida, I think Arkansas's defense is going to be looking to bounce back and maybe slow that LSU offense down a little bit. I'm very surprised that LSU is a favorite in this one. The only reason I can assume is just because they say it's because it's Arkansas. We'll see. I'm not real big on Arkansas in this one. Obviously, LSU is putting up more points in the game, but they're also allowing more points than Arkansas is in the game. And LSU's getting a lot more yards, but they're also giving up a lot of yards. So LSU is a lot like a lot of these teams in the SEC this year. Mississippi State's offense seems from time to time to get rolling, and their defense looks pretty decent. But then you go to like an Ole Miss, which is not playing this weekend. Ole Miss's offense is great, defense not so much. Florida, their offense has been fantastic so far. Their defense is okay. Their defense has gotten better. Arkansas's defense is okay. Our offense so-so. Kentucky and so-so. Alabama, their offense pounding. Now the defense, they've started to get better just like Florida has for the most part through the season. Tennessee and Auburn, that's a good matchup this weekend just because they're both kind of middle of the pack. We'll see how it goes. But for a few of these other SEC teams, that's just kind of what you see. You see in a really good offense, but not much of a defense against it. So that's what you're looking here as they match up. We'll get into picks again, like I said, in just a little bit, and we'll see how we feel about that one. Moving on down to that 4 o'clock kick, I believe it was. Yeah, because the Ole Miss A&M game was canceled, or postponed, excuse me. At that 4 o'clock on the SEC Network, you get Kentucky and Alabama. Alabama's more than likely going to be looking to roll in this one. They are a 30-point favorite coming into this one, and I like that number a lot just because Kentucky has shown signs of life, but not nearly as much, especially coming into this one. The over-under on this one's only 58. So if you look at it like that, Alabama's look to put a good whooping on them here. I mean, there's not much to say about it outside of the only thing that I want to see in this is you could very well see a dime spot there for Kentucky. I think Alabama could come in and shut them out. It's very well possible. I'd like to see them do it as far as seeing what their defense can prove from this point on in the season. Really, the remainder of their season is they got Kentucky this week. You got the Iron Bowl against Auburn next week. You got Arkansas. And then we'll figure out what happens after that as far as any of the postponements and cancellations and stuff like that go nearing the end of the or really after the end of the regular season, what would be in the week previous to the SEC championship game, which more than likely I don't really see at this point how they could fall out of that unless maybe they lost to Auburn and Arkansas, and you could give A&M that slot, but I don't know. It's going to be tough to really see that happen. We've seen them fall to Auburn before when they're not supposed to, so that's one key game to pay attention to next weekend. Don't really foresee it happening this year. I'm not trying to put it in the atmosphere that could not happen because, again, like I just said, it definitely could. But Alabama's offense is just too potent, I think, for Auburn to really even slow them down. So I think this is going to be a much different year. Like I said, 58 is the over-under on that one. 30 is your number there. Moving down to the 7 o'clock ESPN primetime game there. Speaking of Auburn, you got Tennessee at Auburn. So that's the travel. Auburn is 10.5-point home favorite there. Taking on the Vols. That one looks like some beautiful weather coming across this weekend. Over-under on that was 50.5. And I kind of like that number too. I don't really see either team putting up a heap load of points. Just because their offenses are both struggling. They kind of spit and sputter from time to time. And defenses, they seem to stand up from time to time. So we'll see. Again, like I said before, we'll get into the picks in a bit. Auburn 4-2 coming into this one, 2-4 Tennessee. Auburn, they're fairly well matched up in this one. You look at total yardage. Auburn, they squeak out. Well, they are a good bit better as far as yardage goes. For Auburn, 405, whereas Tennessee's only 318, but then defensively, Tennessee's giving up 400 yards, so basically what Auburn's getting. But Auburn's also giving up almost 400 at 391. Auburn seems to be a touchdown better as far as scoring-wise goes, and also giving up almost 10 points, so a touchdown and a field goal the opposite way. So that could be what it boils down to. I do think that Auburn looks to be the favorite in this one coming in. And then moving on down, you got Missouri and South Carolina. Also facing off that 7:30 slot on the SEC Network alternate channel, because on the normal SEC Network channel you'll have Mississippi State and Georgia, which we'll get to in just a minute. These two are kind of the bottom of the pack. Obviously, Will Muschamp being out from last week. You got interim head coach Mike Bobo that'll be there for South Carolina. And South Carolina is a home dog, 6.5, and the over-under that one's 57. This one's kind of, to me, is kind of figuring out who's truly going to be holding up the bottom a notch above. I'm blanking on Vandy. They're at the bottom of the SEC East this year. And for me, I think it's going to be South Carolina. We'll see, obviously, as this game progresses. They're fairly even on both sides of things. Outside of South Carolina's given up a ton of yards, almost 500 yards at 464. So Missouri's offense should be able to roll in this one. I kind of like the number maybe a little bit higher than that. I could take that one over 6.5. Again, we'll get to the points in just a little bit as far as the spread and everything goes. And last but not least, Mississippi State at Georgia. Did have some news come out of Georgia earlier this week that they are finally deciding to go with a quarterback, and they have chosen JT Daniels coming into this one. That was actually announced before it. I've also heard some whisperings about jersey. I think Georgia may be coming out in the black jersey, so we'll see. Georgia does come in as a big 25-point favorite against Mississippi State at the house there for Georgia. Over on that was 44.5. I think it's going to be a bit low just just from the speculation of what we think JT Daniels is going to come in and do, especially being in that kind of air raid Todd Monken offense there. So something to keep an eye on there. Georgia offensively is not putting up a lot. They're fairly well matched against Mississippi State, and defensively is kind of the same thing. Biggest thing for the difference in Georgia and Mississippi State is Mississippi State's got a much better air game, whereas Georgia's ground game is much better. Looking at the total averages here, this is kind of a wild number here. Passing yards is 303 for Mississippi State, almost 100 yards less than that is 209 for Georgia. But here it is. On the ground, Mississippi State's only averaging 21.5 rushing yards, whereas Georgia's running it up for 173.5. Now look at it being given up. Mississippi State's given up 127.2, so Georgia should be able to eat up every bit of that, whereas Georgia's only given up 82.8, which really doesn't matter in this one. Georgia's going to have to be prepared for that Mike Leach offense coming in trying to throw the ball with KJ Costello or whoever they decide to swap to if they don't want to use KJ in this game. I know in the past he has been benched for a bunch of different things. So one thing to keep an eye on there. But I think Georgia will cruise on with this, especially after losing to Florida for the first time in 3 years a couple of weeks ago, and then having to sit and sit on it a whole nother week and basically wait. So I think they're going to be fairly well fired up coming into this one, looking to take Mississippi State down there at the half. I tell you what, let's go ahead and jump right on into, put my ears back on, let's go ahead and jump right into our picks of the week. Get our music pulled up a little bit here for us. Weekly picks, here we go. Let me take mine off the board and here's boop. Here we go. Alright, started off here with Cody's picks. Again, this is what he told me right before we set everything on. If I can get it to pull up for you guys. Here we go. Cody is 19-6 so far on the year. He's picking Florida with a big win, as it's supposed to be. 65-14 coming into this one. LSU, he's got Arkansas with a win too. 38-31 with about a touchdown win there at the house for Arkansas. Kentucky taking on Alabama. Alabama 48-24 is his score prediction. Tennessee, Auburn got it a little bit tighter. Auburn winning by a touchdown, 35-28. Mississippi State, Georgia, 35-17. Georgia with the win at the house. Missouri, South Carolina. Missouri squeaking it out by a field goal there at South Carolina. Throw mine up on the board. Mine are going to be a little bit different. Hopefully to kind of contrast in some of these, because I think if I picked the games, we would pick everything basically identically, and our records would never change. So I decided to do it a little bit differently this year, or this week, kind of like last week with one of the picks. And I decided to go with some of the points, some of the spreads. So this is what mine looks like. I'm actually going to take Florida with that 31.5, giving 31.5 to Vandy. Give me Florida in the points there. LSU at Arkansas. LSU is the 2.5 point favorite. Give me Arkansas. I think Arkansas wins this one outright. So give me that 2.5 there for Arkansas. Kentucky, Alabama, the over-under on that one is 58. I'm going to take the over on 58. I think Alabama beats them up pretty good. And I think Alabama liable to put up 58 all by themselves. So we'll see. But again, the over-under on that was 58. So give me Alabama with the over. Then I just took a score on this Auburn-Tennessee game. Still touchdown difference in this one. Auburn 24-17 over Tennessee. Mississippi State-Georgia game. Over-under on that was 44.5. I'm going to take the over on that as well, with Georgia getting the win. Again, I think with Georgia's offense that should start to fire on all cylinders hopefully this week. That's why I'm going to take the over on that one. Missouri, South Carolina, the over-under on that one is 57. And I'm going to take the under. Don't think that these two teams are going to come in and do. Cody would definitely take the over on this one, obviously being 38-35. But I just don't know. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. I don't think it's going to be quite like last week where both teams are putting up a lot of points. I think Missouri's defense is going to be stronger than that to be able to hold them down below that 57 mark. So that's my picks. Again, I have not seen or heard anything back on Mad Dog's picks, so I don't have any picks coming in from him thus far this week. So again, y'all just keep an eye on the socials, and if anything comes up on any of that, I will let you guys know. But nonetheless, I'm going to jump into some of the games outside of the league, some of these top 25 matchups, because we got some good ones. One thing I was looking at earlier was the Tulane-Tulsa game, which, again, We're obviously recording this one on Thursday, so it is live right now as I'm watching it. And Tulane looked like they were about to go up 21-0 on number 25 Tulsa, but Tulsa has cut that lead in half to 14-7 with just over 9 minutes to play in the fourth quarter. A couple of the big games to match up this weekend. On Saturday, what looks to me to be one of the Big Ten. Two games are happening this weekend in the Big Ten. I know you guys probably don't care that much about it, obviously this being SEC talk. Nonetheless, I'm going to throw it out there for you guys. One of them is Indiana and Ohio State, because I think the winner of that is who goes on to play in the Big Ten championship game. Obviously, number 9, Indiana is 4-0. Number 3, Ohio State is 3-0. And as of right now, Cody was telling me that Indiana is actually ranked above Ohio State in the rankings for the Big Ten, but that's just because Indiana's played one more game. Obviously, Ohio State is ranked higher in the top 25, so that would matter the most. But it doesn't really matter, like I said, because this game is really going to be the difference. If Indiana can get the win against Ohio State, with Ohio State being at the house and Ohio State being a 20.5-point favorite, then obviously they get the nod to play in the Big Ten championship. And that one is going to be at lunchtime, so you do get to watch that at 12 o'clock on Fox there against Saturday. The other one, number 10, Wisconsin traveling to number 19, Northwestern. Northwestern 4-0, Wisconsin 2-0. This is going to be the other side of the Big Ten. Whoever wins this one, I'm fairly certain is who you're going to get to see take on either Indiana or Ohio State. Wisconsin only a 7.5-point favorite on the road. That one at 3:30 on ABC. Keep an eye on that one. The good thing is if you're interested in watching that those big matchups in the Big Ten, because those are the biggest games this weekend, you get to watch one at lunchtime, and by the time that one's over, or by the time the next one's kicking off, you'll be able to watch the other fully, so they're not exactly at the same time there. Clemson will take on Florida State. Shouldn't be too much of a matchup there. One of the other ones at lunchtime that I think could be a little troublesome for Coastal Carolina on ESPN2 is Appalachia State. App State coming in at 6-1, taking on 7-0 Coastal Carolina, ranked in that 15 spot. Hopefully Coastal Carolina doesn't come in trying to coast through this game, because App State can come in and beat you. Cincinnati and UCF, that's always a good one to watch out, because I know UCF is going to want to ruin Cincinnati's dreams. But Cincinnati has an opportunity to keep it alive here, and they've looked really good thus far this season. Kansas State, Iowa State. Kansas State's always good at ruining stuff for teams. Take Oklahoma, for example. That one's at 4 o'clock on Fox. And then you got Bedlam there at 7:30 on ABC prime time. You got number 14 Oklahoma State taking on number 18 Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a 7-point favorite coming into this one. Utah is going to get the season started against USC at 10:30 on ESPN, so we do get some late games to be able to watch. A couple of your other postponements around the country. Georgia Tech and Miami has been postponed. A lot of stuff going on there with Miami, so keep an eye on that one moving forward. Charlotte Marshall has been postponed as well. Texas Kansas has been postponed, and canceled is Central Arkansas at Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns, as Cody would like to say. Got a couple of numbers here on the side I'm going to throw out there for you guys real quick. Chance to win the Big Ten East right now. Again, you might not care about it. 85% Ohio State, 93%. That was actually a couple weeks ago, so let's move past that one. That's my playoff predictor there as well. I had some updated numbers. Here we go. Chance to send teams to the playoff. SEC chance to get a team in the college football playoff is 97%, whereas to get multiple, at least two, is only 17%. In the Big Ten, they got a little bit better chance, at least getting multiple in. 96% chance to be in the college football playoff, 26% chance to get two in. I can see that with Indiana, Ohio State, Northwestern, and Wisconsin being up there. And then in the SEC, you got Alabama, Florida, and Texas A&M. Looking at the ACC, 81% chance to get a team in the playoff, 10% to get multiple. More than likely that'd be Clemson and Notre Dame there. In the Pac-12, 35% chance to get a team in, less than 1% to get multiple in, and the American 12% chance. So the lone team that's not in this one is the Big 12. Obviously with Oklahoma State going down earlier in the season, that dwindles. Pac-12's chances really lie on Oregon and what they can do for the rest of the season. That's why they are at that 35% chance. So really the SEC, Big Ten, and ACC look to be the top dogs in that. And more than likely either the SEC, Big Ten, or ACC, you're going to have one, if not two, out of those. So that'll be one thing to kind of keep an eye on there as we continue through the rest of the season. And for the most part, I think that's just about all I got for you guys. Again, y'all follow us on Twitter and Facebook at SEC Talk 20. Email is at sectalk20@gmail.com. Excuse me, you don't have to put the at in front of that, so just sectalk20@gmail.com. You guys, again, just send us a message if you guys have any questions, concerns, anything like that. You don't like what we're talking about, what have you. One of the things we were looking at earlier, speaking of the playoffs, was the chance to make the playoff, and that's where the percentages were at the end of last week. So we'll probably try to continue to update that as we move on through the season. Your East and West rankings, this is where we stand. Again, this is the possibility of the East and the West after they meet up in the SEC Championship on December 19th. Florida 5-1, Georgia 4-2. Looking at the East, well, that is the East. Let's look at the West, excuse me. Alabama 6-0, Texas A&M 5-1. So those are your teams, really. Alabama, Texas A&M, and Florida at this point that stand to be the three teams in the SEC that have a chance to get into that playoff. I think if Florida beats Alabama, you obviously get Florida and Alabama in. But I do think if Alabama beats Florida, you could make an argument to put Texas A&M there, even though A&M lost to Alabama at the start of the season. That's when it's going to boil down to, is the ACC between Notre Dame and Clemson worth another shot? I think if Notre Dame beats Clemson again, I think it's only Notre Dame that gets in. But then there's a big question this weekend that should be answered between Indiana, Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Northwestern. That should tell you your answer as far as the Big Ten goes. So that'll be something to kind of keep an eye on. As far as some of the high school stuff goes, really not a lot of information to drop to you guys there. The only thing that I've really been paying attention to locally is that the Westwood Wildcats over here in Georgia, they will start playoffs tomorrow, actually. So I'm going to plan to be at that one, and hopefully I can bring you guys a little bit of information as far as that one goes there. So, again, we're going to keep it short, sweet, and simple because one, I don't have Cody here with me, so it makes it a little bit tougher to talk to you guys for 2-3 hours long on that. Nonetheless, appreciate you guys' feedback. We will. We're still working on trying to keep our socials up and going. Again, sometimes we're a little bit slower to it. Again, we're not full time doing this, so if you guys have anything you want to talk to us about, we will. Let us know this upcoming week. We're really going to be harping in on the Thanksgiving and time to give thanks and be with your family and everything. So we'd love to hear from you guys as far as what your favorite Thanksgiving traditions are. You know, do you like to go out back and throw the pigskin around with the family? Have a little game that you get up and play every year? Is there a game that you specifically look for? Do you watch the parade that morning, that afternoon? Do you watch the Cowboys, who aren't any good this year, play as well during that? I mean, I would love to know some of your traditions, some of your favorite plates, dishes, anything like that that you guys can think of. We'd love to hear from you guys. But anyway, that's again about it. Again, hopefully Cody will be back with us on Sunday, and we can update you guys after the games are over. Outside of that, SEC Talk with your hosts, Holden and Cody. Check in on us on Sunday.